Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at Greninja, of all things, from the Sun and Moon on format. It's a deck that everyone is assuming has completely fallen off the map, mainly because of a few of the new cards. Tauros GX is a very difficult card for the deck to play around. The damage, the numbers aren't fantastic for you. Additionally, there's quite a lot of grass stuff in the new format. There's Decidueye and there's also Lurantis. Both serve as very awkward decks for Greninja. Now, Tauros is seeing a lot of play, but right now, if you're going into Anaheim or other League Cups that are starting in the next couple of weeks, it's quite evident that a lot of the new grass decks, people aren't really going to be picking up and playing because there's a lot of hype around Volcanion right now. Volcanion seems to be an easy pick option. So, with that in mind, Greninja isn't the most horrible play to pick up. It can prey on the new Umbreon decks, it can prey on Persimmon, it can prey on Volcanion. It does have a handful of good matchups still in this format, and I'm going to try and convince you today that Greninja has got things to worry about, definitely, but it should by no means be completely off the radar and is still a play to be considered, in my opinion. Right then, let's get into the list. There are going to be two different lists that I show you in this video. I'm going to show you a Talonflame build and a non-Talonflame build. Earlier today, I posted up on Facebook asking the question, which do you prefer right now in Sun and Moon format? Talon or non-Talon? Now, the overall result was that Talonflame was overall more liked, but there was also a high amount of votes for the non-Talonflame build. It sort of divided players in terms of opinion, and that's really rare for a deck that's been around for so long. Greninja is an established archetype, as we know. Talonflame gained a lot of popularity at Worlds, and since then there's been back and forths, arguments for and against Talonflame in lists throughout this season, pretty much since Worlds. And right now I'm going to be showing you both lists and talking about the merits behind both. So, let's start off with the Greninja line. First of all, we're still playing for Froakie, even though we're playing a Talonflame build, because it's really important if you're playing Talonflame and leading Talonflame to still develop two Froakies so that you don't simply get Lysandre KO'd and lose the game, because you start losing prizes very quickly on your Froakies, you can't protect it, you can't go to Frogadier, and the entire deck is focused around finding Frogadier on the second turn of the game because of its Water Duplicates attack. For a single water energy, you're able to search the deck for up to 3 Frogadier and put them onto your bench, and you're able to shuffle your deck afterwards. This is pretty good, being able to effectively turn the rest of your Stage 1 Pokemon into as if they're basics, and then your Greninjas are effectively Stage 1s, and your Breaks are effectively Stage 2s, even though they should be Stage 3s, really. So, Frogadier is one of the key components of this deck, and you'll see people complaining about Greninja all the time when they've prized a Frogadier or 2 Frogadier, or they happen to prize Greninja pieces. That's one thing that Greninja really does struggle with, so bear that in mind. But the deck is very focused on hitting off Water Duplicates on the second turn of the game. That's really where your setup starts to come from. From there we have Greninja. There's so many aspects of this card why it's very good. It has free retreat, which is fantastic. 130 HP is not bad. It's got 2 attacks, both for 1 single energy, which is also very efficient. The first one is for a colourless, dealing 40 damage, and it's effectively got the Hex Maniac inbuilt in its own attack, which is very, very good for you. But obviously it's only on your opponent's turn because you end your turn with your attack. So Shadow Stitching is fantastic. It's some sort of defense against a few ability-focused lists. It can help out against things like Volcanion, but a lot of the time you can just push for damage against a Volk player. So it's something that you can bear in mind for a few matchups if it can hurt them in the right situations. Moonlight Slash is the more damaging of the 2 attacks. For a single water it does 60 base, and if you choose to return a water energy from this Pokemon to your hand, you may deal an extra 20. Returning the energy to the hand is actually very helpful. It can make it more awkward for things like Mewtwo and Yveltal to one-hit KO you. At the same time, you're getting the extra 20 damage. The only time really that you don't want to be return the energy to the hand is if it's a splash energy that you happen to have attached to the Greninja, because splash energy recovers your line of Pokemon, and that's important with this deck. Finally, we have the 3 Greninja Break. The main reason why you want to be playing Greninja in the first place, it's 170 HP non-EX Pokemon, so It's a huge commitment for one prize to actually deal with a Greninja Break, which is fantastic. And its ability is also very, very good. Giant Water Shuriken. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your active slot, you can discard a Water Energy from the hand and choose to place 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon anywhere on the board. Very strong, gives you good control. It can KO lower HP things like EVs that are running around right now, or it can start piling damage up into the active Pokemon. Bear in mind, of course, if you happen to have 2 Greninja Breaks out on the field, you can do 1 Shuriken, free retreat, use another Shuriken, and you can effectively get up to 200 damage on one turn if you use 2 Shurikens and then Moonlight Slash returning energy to hand. That's pretty strong. Greninja tries to tempo out on turns 4, 5, 6 to really gain control of the matchup, where in the early turns you're doing a lot less damage, maybe throwing some Aero Blitzes into the mix, maybe getting a Shadow Stitching or a Moonlight Slash here or there. But for the most part, it's as soon as you hit your breaks that you start recovering on the board and recovering on your damage that you've been missing. So the partner that we're choosing at the moment is going to be Talonflame. At the moment, going into Sun and Moon format, I think Talonflame is the way to play this deck. Previously, I've been a fan of no Talon, but right now, mainly just because of the popularity of Turbo Dark, starting Talonflame with 130 HP in the active is fantastic for you. It means that you simply just don't get blown out the water by the Darkrai players straight away. Now bear in mind, Darkrai decks do still play high escape rope counts, and they still play Lysandres and all that other stuff, but just having a high HP Pokemon in the active with a free retreat cost forces these extra cards from your opponents. And I think just because of the prevalence of Turbo Dark and the fact that they're playing Silent Lab rather than Garbodors a lot of the time, having something that can tank a hit in the early turns just wins games so often for you, which is very good. I should explain first how you get this in the active in the first place, being a Stage 2 Pokemon. Its ability, Gale Wings, states that if this Pokemon is in your hand when you're setting up to play, you may put it face down on your active Pokemon. So clearly, even though we play a 4 count, you can only ever get 1 Talonflame in your active slot. So naturally, straight away, you have at least 3 dead cards in your deck from turn 1. So that's one big debate why people are against Talonflame. Additionally, games when you don't have Talonflame in your opening hand, you have 4 dead cards in your deck the entire game, which is obviously horrible. But when you do start Talonflame, you have high HP, free retreat, and you have Aero Blitz at your disposal, which additionally is just for 1 colorless energy that does 40 and searches your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand straight away, shuffling your deck afterwards. This can really help with the clunk aspect that Greninja has sort of got a label attached to it a lot of the time. There's many games that you see Greninja players lose in the opening turns of the game because they fail to get duplicates going, or they have awkward prizes, or this, that, and the other. Well, Aero Blitz can help out in at least one of these aspects, because if you go second, you can simply attach an energy, use Aero Blitz, and guarantee yourself a Frogadier for the following turn. Bear in mind, of course, that your opponent can play N, and N is a popular card in the format for Sun and Moon. But I think Talonflame's still important. It's important for the Turbo Dark matchup, which I've already mentioned. Additionally, Yveltal. Additionally, also, there's item lock decks coming back into the format. Lurantis Vileplume, and potentially a revitalized Plume Box build, or a heavy Tauros-focused Vileplume deck. They seem to be on the horizon. They seem to be more popular than they used to be. So having Aero Blitz as a way of still getting your Greninja pieces out feels very appealing to me. So right now I am a fan of Talonflame in Ninja, but that's not always been the case, and I can see merits for both sides, and I'll be showing off the other list later. Alright, let's look at the trainers now. Because it's a Talonflame build, we're choosing to play just 1 Super Rod and 1 Buddy Buddy Rescue. We like this split rather than just a straight 2 Super Rod, because a lot of the time we have Talonflames in our discard pile thanks to Ultra Balls and Sycamores that we definitely don't want back in the deck because they're completely useless cards. So having the 1 Super Rod, 1 Buddy Buddy sort of mitigates that. A lot of the time, if we're choosing to use the Super Rod, we will have Greninja pieces in the discard pile, and Buddy Buddy gives you a soft search for just 1 thing, which helps out a lot when you've lost Frogadiers, or you can't find Splash Energy, or you just need to find an extra Break evolution. All these different reasons why Buddy Buddy is good, because it's an immediate search into a Pokemon from the discard pile. Pretty decent card in my opinion. Bear in mind, of course, we do have the recovery of a couple of splash energy in the list as well, which we are quite heavily focused on. Next up for trainers, we have a few disruption cards. We have a couple of enhanced hammers. This is as a means to slow down Tauros players, Yveltal players, and Mewtwo players, really. These are the main ones, even Rayquaza to an extent. Basically forcing your opponent to dig harder and also commit their manual attachments all to one Pokemon. If you're hammering away their active Pokemon, they have to continue to commit to the active Pokemon. And one of the biggest issues for Greninja is that they can be sat there with one Pokemon and they're also charging up their next one on the bench, ready to go for when that one eventually does get knocked out. Well, Enhanced Hammer sets them back a peg or two, slows them down, forces attachments all onto one Pokemon that hopefully at least you can overcome with a combination of attacks, balloons, and abilities. So Enhanced Hammer is good at slowing people down in the opening turns and hopefully forcing more commitment onto just one single target rather than multiple. We are playing 2 Max Potion in the list also. When we do eventually get into our Greninja break, 170 is a big number to hit all at once. So having the Max Potion, seeing as though we already oftentimes return energy to our hand, it's pretty much a free heal, and that is absolutely excellent. It gives you more uses of your ability, it gives you more uses of your attacks. It is such a big swing card if you're able to hit it off. Sometimes this card can be fairly dead, that's no lie, but when it comes off, you do start really gaining the tempo back in your advantage. It is very strong for you. From there, we have 3 Ultra Balls. This is a very high count of Ultra Ball. This is really just saying that we need to hit Froakies turn 1. We need to hit them, and we probably need to hit 2 if we lead Talonflame, so that we're less vulnerable to Escape Ropes and Enhanced Hammers. Not Enhanced Hammers, Lysandres. So having the 3 Ultra Ball, we're choosing Ultra Ball as our search card rather than level or repeat, because we get to discard Talonflames as well as discard some of our tech supporters like Fisherman, like Ace Trainer, to the discard pile so that we can get use out of them later and so that we don't draw into them off of things like N. And we can also thin the hand size for cards like Lillie as well, which is a card that we're now playing from Sun and Moon. On top of that, we're playing 4 Dive Ball. It's a free search card for any of your frogs, so it's absolutely excellent. 4 VS Seeker to respam some of our supporters. We do play a few tech ones, as well as just keeping consistent in general. Silent Lab is our stadium of choice, but really we're not given a choice anymore because there's the Giratina promo that some decks choose to tech in. I know some Vespiquen lists are moving away from Garbodor, choosing to play Giratina instead. There's a few Mega decks that also want to make the space for Giratina rather than Garb, and Silent Lab shuts that down, which is very fortunate for you. Additionally, it can really help out against Mega Rayquaza, Mega Gardevoir as well. And in general, if you just happen to go first, hit a Silent Lab, you can sometimes slow people down enough where they can't just go crazy with Hooper, Shaman, Steam Up, all these sorts of different things. So Silent Lab is an excellent card in this deck. Even though we're forced to play it, it's one that can benefit us in a lot of situations, especially because we don't play any abilities of our own, other than, or basic abilities on our own, other than Talonflame, which only works going first anyway, and there's obviously never a Stadium down at the very start of the game. For the supporters, we are playing 1 Ace Trainer. This is a card that I've gone back and forth with Greninja, but it's oftentimes a popular inclusion. The main reason why it's really good is that it always nets you 6, and playing Ns in the mid to late game doesn't always net yourself 6 cards, but Greninja does need to still dig hard. It needs to keep digging into water energy to start overcoming the opponent and start getting ahead in the prize race. Greninja is known for going behind in prizes, therefore Ace Trainer becomes a good disruption tool as well as keeping you in a healthy hand size to develop your own side of the board. We are playing 1 Fisherman, which gets back lots of water energy so that when we are eventually in our break evolutions we can guarantee a whole bunch of damage. 1 Lillie is in the list. Lillie is not a bad turn 1 supporter for you, which is obviously a good thing. But additionally, it's similar to what I'm saying with Ace Trainer. It can sometimes be more powerful than an N, but there can be hands where you don't necessarily want to Sycamore, so Lillie can net you 4 cards or something like that to keep drawing, keep getting into more things without painful discards. One Lysandre is in the deck to try and slow things down, if you're able to, in the early turns, if you happen to find it. But also, just capitalize on Pokemon that are hit with a lot of damage and necessarily... maybe sometimes we don't have our abilities, or maybe we need to snipe something with an ability and also Lysandre to finish off the game. For example, if it's a Shaman EX. So it's just a natural inclusion in lots of different lists. Then we have N for the standard shuffle draw. Like I said, this deck often goes behind 2 to 3 prizes quite comfortably in most games. So N is oftentimes a disruptive card for you. 3 Professor Sycamore for the big old digs that we need to get through. And just 2 Bursting Balloon. Bursting Balloon is a count that's been played around with a lot. It's sometimes been 4 plus Eco Arm, sometimes it's been 3. At the moment we're down to 2 in favour of trying to slow people down with E-Hammer and Max Potion. Don't get me wrong, Bursting Balloon is a good amount of damage when you put it onto the right targets, but a lot of decks are playing Escape Rope right now. So I like having a lower count of Bursting Balloon just to force these sorts of cards out of the opponents. Trying to protect things like putting it on the Frogadier that you've just duplicated or something like that if you haven't got a splash energy on board, or if you only have 1 Greninja developed and there's a Frogadier on the bench, you can sometimes balloon the benched Frogadier so it's not just an easy Lysandre KO target. Forces people to play into Max Potion and these other things. Overall, since Max Potion has become popular in Greninja, that's taken spaces away from the Bursting Balloon, because Max Potion in a way is a means of getting you more damage because you're healing your Greninja, which nets you, 80 with an attack and sometimes more with snipe ability damage. So really this has sort of made way for the other tech cards like E-Hammer and Max Potion, so that's why that's not as high as potentially it used to be. Just this 2 splash energy, because we are playing a Talon build, we can specifically search out the splashes for turn 2 for the duplicates, which is one of the main times you want to hit splash energy, which is very good. And like I said, we have Buddy Buddy, we have Super Rod to fall back on. I feel the 2 count is fine. Obviously, we don't want to play too many that if we do have Talonflame, we can only find splashes. Then we're very sad because we can't attach those to non-water Pokemon. And finally, just 7 waters, because you need to use basic water energy for Giant Water Shuriken. And additionally, we can get the Aero Blitz attacks in with Talonflame. So pretty good stuff. Fairly standard list for Talonflame. And now I'll be jumping into the other list. So I've given my thought process on why Talonflame is helpful. There are the awkward things that you have to play, like Ultra Ball, like having dead cards simply in your deck a lot of the game. And obviously if you don't start with Talonflame, you're in a pretty bad spot. So there are reasons why people are against Talon. If I was to play a straight ninja build, this would be the one that I go for right now. It's also a pretty interesting list. A few changes that you'll see in here. We're still sticking with the same Greninja line, obviously. The 2 tech Pokemon that we are playing now is the Jirachi with Stardust. This is a very helpful and impactful card. Really good against Tauros. It's also really good against Rayquaza. And again Mewtwo, again Yveltal. Just really good because now we're playing 2 Super Rod. You can recycle this card as well and really be disruptive for a bunch of decks that are focused on DCE and try and fatigue your opponent. Greninja, with all of its free retreating, all of its healing, and just being a slow deck inherently because it's very non-EX focused, your opponent is forced to take a lot of physical KOs. And when we start getting into the 170 HP range, it's very awkward for them to do so. And throwing in Stardust into the mix can really slow down their tempo in the early turns, as well as just stop them building something that's so big it can KO anything on your board, i.e. a big old Mewtwo or a big old Yveltal. So Stardust takes up the role that Enhanced Hammer did in this list by being a physical Pokemon that we can recycle, which is very, very good for us. One thing to note about Jirachi is it's not a great lead Pokemon at all. It means that turn 1 we have to find a Water Energy to attach just to switch, or keep attached to the Jirachi for the following turn. And it means we then have to find a second Water Energy to then attach to our Froakie to actually go for the duplicates, of course. We are also playing one Beedril EX. Beedril has the double Scrapper attack for a single colourless, discarding up to 2 Pokemon tools attached to your opponent's Pokemon. This is obviously to deal with Garbodor. Now, Garbodor is mainly seen in heavy Tauros lists, in Mewtwo lists, and Yveltal lists exclusively. I think Lurantis Garb is a thing, but Lurantis on its own can beat us regardless, so we don't even have to factor that into the equation. But again, this goes back to the point I made with Jirachi. Greninja's very good at going into fatigue and forcing a fatigue wall, and if the opponents had to commit float stones elsewhere, if they've had to discard them with Sycamores trying to be aggressive in the opening turns, well-timed double scrappers and Lysandres, you can see we're playing 2 in this list to fit the theme of Beedril, you can simply strand something in the active and start firing away once you take float stones off Garbodors. So this is a way of getting your abilities back, obviously, but also forcing something heavy in the active slot so that you can just take advantage and win the game from there. Again, it does have a single retreat cost, and again, it's actually a pretty decent lead Pokemon because we're playing the max potions. Although it does force the 2 energy in the 2 turns, it can be tankier than a Froakie, of course, so that's something to bear in mind. Other changes, our balls change to level balls rather than ultras because we have nothing really we want to thin from the deck. So we can just guarantee Froakies and Frogadiers, which is good, as well as Jirachi that we can recycle. From there, the balloon count goes up by 1, the splash count goes up by 1 as well. We think it's important to cycle the Greninjas even more because more Froakies are in the firing line from the opening turns. And I think the supporter line changes very slightly. We add an extra Lillie, I think, and also extra Lysandre. Like I said, Lysandre fits the theme of the Beedril, and extra Lillie is to mitigate the lack of Talonflame's draw power, so that we can still have good early game turns. And this is a small inclusion to Greninja, but it has been very good. It can help you net that second Froakie a lot of the time, and it is impactful. It's a pretty good card in Greninja for certain. So yeah, those are my 2 lists. I'm going to be flip-flopping a game of each with Greninja. I feel like you only need to see 1 of each because typically these games are long, as long as we have a full game. If we happen to lose in a couple of turns, I'll have another game with that same list, but I'm hoping to get 2 full games of... No, sorry, 1 full game with each Greninja list, so hopefully that will be helpful in making your own decision as to what your favourite Greninja deck is. I would love to hear your favourite, your reasons why, and some other things. I'm also going to, because we've spent so long already talking about 2 different lists, I'll go over some different things that you could include in lists also. Starmie is something that's sometimes been played with Greninja. Personally, right now, I feel it's somewhat of a win more card. By that, I mean that it's really good when you have your abilities, but Greninja is already really good when you have your abilities, so really it's the case that you can capitalize on big swing turns when you have the Starmie in play, and you can also discard some more dead weight from your hand, but if you're under Garbodor, it's never going to help you out, and that's why I'm choosing to play Beedril to try and balance out bad matchups rather than improve your good matchups even more. Additionally, there's a few different supporter cards that you could be playing, things like Delinquent, things like Ranger. Right now I'm not expecting mirrors, so I'm not playing Ranger. There's Assault Vest as well that has sometimes been played. I know right now we're playing heavy E-Hammer, but Assault Vest could help out. It really helps out against Tauros, protecting your Froakies and Frogadiers, as well as even the Greninjas at some extent, because you can be hitting like 80 and actually tank hits the following turn, or force the Mad Bull before you become a Break evolution, so then the Breaks can start tanking hits. Right now, Tauros can probably take like 4 prizes before it goes down, and that's really bad for you. So yeah, we'll see how Assault Vest goes. That's definitely one to try out for Sun and Moon format. I think that's not a bad option at all. And also, Repeat Ball's been one that's been played around a little bit. And that's... Ooh, okay. Awkward hand. No, it's not that bad. Okay. We'll just get rid of the Lysandre and the E-Hammer, and we'll go for Froakie. Worst thing here is that we have double Frogadier, obviously, in our hand. And this is almost definitely getting knocked out by Volcanion next turn, which is a shame. So we'll just pass. Yeah, Repeat Ball is a card that's been in a few Greninja lists that just play like straight for Froakie. The reason I'm not a huge fan of... Ooh, wow, that's a dead hand. We got bailed out big time. Okay. The reason I'm not a huge fan of that is because Repeat Ball can only get you the same lines as Pokemon. It can only get you a Froakie. If you have a Froakie, it can only get you Frogadier if you have a Frogadier. It's just the nature of the card. And a lot of the time, Greninja loses its games because you can't go up to the next level. You can't hit the next big card for you. You can't hit your Greninja. You can't hit your next... if you have two Froakies out, you can't find Frogadier with the Repeat Ball. So, Whiffing Energy is so bad. Okay, we got a bench on the Froakie then. Okay. So yeah, that's my piece on Repeat Ball. But it's been a card that a few people have enjoyed and tested. So here we go, the Volcanion's actually steam artillerying us. Let's go into Talonflame. It has free retreat after all. It's maybe a game where we don't duplicates. We just hard evolve all of our Greninjas. We can get our Super Rod in now. And I'm going to end. Even though they didn't have a strong hand. Still Whiffing Energy is so bad. Okay. Silent Lab is something. I'm also going to balloon the Frogadier. Because it's the only thing that gets instantly KO'd. We'll stay active. We'll see how this goes. Volcanion, despite us having weakness on it, is not the easiest of matchups. It's one that you'd think would be super free for us, but the tempo that the Volk player can put out against us is sometimes really awkward. In this case, they had a couple of slow turns, but additionally, we didn't duplicate, and we haven't had an attack of our own yet, so we'll see how this goes. They go for a big Sycamore, so our Greninja and our Frogadier are safe at the very least. Gonna see the Ultra Ball. Next turn we've got a pretty good turn, now that we didn't get Lysandre here. The opponent is able to find Volcanion. If they steam up once, they can get a KO on the active. They're going to Fury Belt up the EX. Also going to go for a Max Elixir. That does come off, which is good. There's a turn attachment and just Steam Artillery for 100, which is pretty grim for them. Top decking Froakie is fine. We can definitely Ultra Ball these away. We're just going to go for a Greninja. And we have a nice clean Sycamore here with one Break Evolution down. They weren't able to bounce the stadium, which is why Talonflame survived, and they didn't have the option to still Whiffing Energy. What? Damn it, game. Okay, we're going to Max Potion. Where do I balloon? Here, I think. They only have a one-card hand. If they Lysandre this. Okay. Otherwise it's Sycamore, and I don't mind this getting knocked out at this point. Whiffing all of our energies today. Not great news. Okay, they just Sycamore away the VS Seeker. There's an attachment, there's another Volcanion EX. And another baby Volcanion. There's a payment of retreat just to get a KO here. Which is really not that bad for us. Let's go into the break and hope to hit a ton of energy. Still none. That is pretty crazy. Is it an end turn? Or is it just Sycamore here? I think just Sycamore isn't too bad. Can use Buddy Bunny because I'm going to be Sycamoring. I think if we just get an overwhelming amount of water energy here, we win the game. And by overwhelming, I mean 2 energy, I think, is all we need, really. We're digging hard. I want to still keep finding Greninja pieces as well to keep evolving up. Well, there's 2 energy. And a Greninja. Do I go for the break here? Next turn I don't even think they can Volcanic Heat. I think this is fine. Alright, we have Silent Lab in, so I'd rather just get more damage in. We're going to Shuriken the active. Finally find some energy. And we're also going to Moonlight Slash. Bringing the energy back to hand. And get a KO. Alrighty. In comes the Hooper with a Float Stone. And like we see, guys, the first game we see on the ladder is Volcanion, because a lot of people think it's the easiest player right now. And Greninja does enjoy Volcanion, especially with Silent Lab. I think it has to feel slightly favoured, if not very. They're definitely going to have to spend a turn power heatering here. And we get hit with an N. That's a really good end for us. There's an Elixir. Fury Belt again. And yeah, it's going to be a power heater turn. So we can deal... We can KO this just with the attack, so any extra water energy we draw... Oh my goodness. This is a pretty good hand, I would say. We'll put the preemptive Snipe on the EX with the most energy. We'll retreat out of the damage to force more steam ups. And we'll just attach and attack this turn. Returning to hand to get the damage that we need. Here are all the water energy. Turns out they were prized all along. When you're in this sort of board state as a Greninja, you can just sit back and relax because you feel pretty good about the matchup at this point. They finally replaced the stadium. But 4 prizes is a long way away for this Volcanion player. Before we take 3. They decided to Scorched Earth before. Okay, so they probably had 2 fire in their hand. And there's going to be the Volcanic Heat. VS Seeker is really, 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 really good. So the Shuriken goes here. Nothing wrong with Sycamore, but at the same time, holding vs Seeker guarantees win next turn. I'm going to hold. I think we're in such an advanced position that we don't need to dig for anything really. Energy retrieval. Is that the first one I've seen, I think? Second one. Followed up by Ultra Ball for a fail search. Concede a clock. Oh, Scorched Earth first. Max Elixir. That's their 12 fire energy. They don't even have any fires to steam up, I don't think, unless they have another in hand. Yeah, they just pretty much feed us the win. Kabam. Good stuff. Nice little win for Greninja against a good matchup. Alright, so that was the Talon build. We didn't really show off much of Talonflame. It did tank a few hits here or there though, so maybe that changes the prize race, changes what they start drawing. So take that as you will. But we whiffed a lot of energy that game. Let's start playing against... oh, we're up against Gaia Storm. And it looks like they were playing a grass colourless deck, so probably a loss. The amount of times I faced them on the ladder and they have the auto win against me is just hilarious. It's happened so many times. Okay. May as well already say well played. Oh wow, definitely well played. Look at this hand. So this is what's known as Greninja things. When you just happen to draw into one of the worst hands imaginable. We do have Jirachi in the deck, which is very good. I would love to hold the level ball, but there's a Taurus in the opponent's active, so they can just win the game with a DCE. So we have to play a little bit safer than that. I'm going to put the Silent Lab down to hopefully slow them down. And we'll pass. Okay, there's DC Fury Belt. Stadium replaced instantly. And a Sycamore. They can win the game if they get triple Decidueye down, of course. That is possible. Nice gold Ultra Ball. Look at those demo accounts. So jealous. And there's Shaman. Trainer's Mail. And a cheeky setup for 4 cards. Level Ball is going to help find them Dartrix if they wish. Or maybe another Rowlet. Just going to be Dartrix. There's Decidueye, number 1. Uh-oh. Level Ball number 2. Going for a 3rd Rowlet. And they're gonna... Oh my god, it's such a clean Ultra Ball for Shaman. Oh, dearie me. Let's get donked, shall we? Wow, they've hit 3 Ultra Balls on their first turn. Not bad. Much skill. Dartrix number 2 joins the gang. Trainer's Mail for VS Seeker. Decidueye number 2. Unfortunately, I think they're out of draw cards. Double Feather Arrow to the bench. And Horn Attack to the active. So, we need to... Lillie, the saviour. Maybe. It's only 3 cards. Not the saviour we were looking for. This maybe makes it awkward for them to get the third Decidueye out. But we need to flip heads anyway. Never lucky. Greninja things. So yeah, looks like we're having a third game with this list of Greninja. And you can see in situations like that, just having more HP, being less vulnerable to those sorts of cards is really important. At the same time though, Jirachi in a long-term scenario, if we're able to actually draw into our hand and start getting into the game, Jirachi is a big impact card for combating Tauros. So we get to go first here in our third Greninja game, and we lead with Beedril, which isn't fantastic, but at least we can draw quite a few cards with it. Looks like we're up against some sort of dark list. Quite a few out there right now. Yveltal Tauros, there's Turbo Dark, Dark Garb, Umbreon lists. We'll have to wait and see. We did see Floatstones, so it could well be a Garbodor variant. Which is worrying, but we do have the B right there. So who knows? Maybe it'll be fine. Just maybe. Alright then. Right, hopefully the opponent chooses quickly. That would be a good idea. Rage quit? Rage quit? Yay or nay? Okay, let's find another game. Would have been cool to face a dark deck with Garbodor, because it can showcase Beedril and Jirachi quite effectively. But who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and find another one. Nope, this looks like lots of different types. Water, Grass, Lightning, Colourless. Maybe it's a Vespiquen Eevees build? Maybe. Vespiquen's rough. Even without Garb, it's still rough. Balloons help out a lot. So does Jirachi. We'll figure it out, I'm sure. Alright, we're back in Greninja top deck mode. My favourite type of mode. Looks like it's going to be Vespilutions. Lysandre attach. Lab pass. Could dive ball, find Froakie, but then we're left with dead hand. This way, they need Forest, DCE, Switch. Oh, there's Switch card. Here we go. Replacement Stadium. They need Shaman support really to draw many cards. They also need to find ways of discarding Pokemon. There's Sycamore though. Getting rid of 2 Vespiquen. Oh god, there's Forest. Not like this. Not more Greninja things. So they've got the damage that they need because they can Wonderlock their other unknown. It's now down to finding DCE plus 3rd Vespiquen. They retreat, they get an extra draw. They do retreat. There's the extra draw we were talking about. Oh, as if they got the dream. Okay, maybe they're still digging. I'm so sad. I say we still made the correct gamble. In terms of outs in our deck, we're not likely to top deck a card that is guaranteed Frogadier. So I think it was a justified gamble. They play at least 2 Floatstones in their list. That's pretty rare these days, but I guess playing Tauros GX you have to play at least 2. With DCE one time. Oh my goodness, we're alive. The gamble! Lysandering the Shaman is a lot less threatening than Lysandering Tauros, because Tauros can still one-bop us. But if they're playing Vespi, they're not playing Fury Belt. So I think we Lysandre Tauros for a more long game. Slow down. Let's go for Dive Ball. We have prized 1 Frogadier. We have both Jirachi and Beedril. Beedril again could be clutch, because we could trap a Tauros here at some point. They've already gone through 2 floats, so this could be really good news for us. There I was complaining about death, and it didn't happen. Happy days, potentially. I mean, we still have a horrible hand. Don't get me wrong. Sycamore. That's not an N. Wow, that's a great hand to Sycamore away. Lots of Pokemon. Do they choose to get rid of Zorua though? That's interesting. There's DC for Tauros. Gonna see an Ultra Ball. This time grabbing a Zorua, okay. Don't really see why they didn't bench the initial Zorua, because it's not like they really need to dig for much damage. Okay, here's the Horn attack. Let's try and draw out of this hand. Greninja's not bad. Right, maths. Doing 60 to a Tauros means Mad Bull GX does get a KO on us if we retreat and attach to another Greninja. Alternatives is to take a prize this turn by Lysandring either Zorua or Eevee. Further alternatives is just to evolve up a bench and let a Frogadier get knocked out. Lots of options here. Lots of options. This is a really hard turn for us. Really hard option. Attacking even for 40. 40 I guess keeps us still out of range unless they Mad Bull. And it also prevents digging with Shaman and Zorua and Eevee doing Zoroark and Eevee getting abilities. So 40 makes his rage the same as a Horn attack. So I guess that's what we do here. The only thing is it gives Mad Bull. Not happy about this. For the record, I'm not happy about this. There's a Zoroark, DC to Vespiquen, and just Sycamore. There's an Acrobike. Again, it's one of these things where all we need to do is really find Jirachi to stall out this game and win, I feel. I mean, they've not got through any special charges just yet, but I think if we can keep Lysandring Tauros, we can just win the game. But before we can do that, we kind of need to get out of this dead draw. They have 8 cards left in deck already. There would definitely be a potential to stall this game out and win, but just whether we're going to be allowed to do that. Okay, they are going to Mad Bull for the quick, aggressive prizes. Which is a good and bad thing for us. Bad right now, because we're dead drawing, but good for the overall game. Oh, that ball's so bad. It is a Jirachi, though. And Jirachi's a problem. Just not right now. We'll pass. They still need to like stand in, pay DC, retreat. So we'll see how that goes. More Acrobike digging. They are thin on the old Vespiquen line. I wonder if they play 2 Revitalizer maybe. That is fairly common. There's a Combi and a Vespiquen, obviously with the stadium still in. They are going to DC. They can get a Mind Jack KO. Okay, that's what they're going for. Lysandre's the only supporter we need, apparently. Stardust number 1. To be fair, we can loan Jirachi this for a little while. You might have to spend DC to retreat and then special charge back Go for like a Lysandre play. But then we can still like Stardust here. Lysandre, Stardust here. And cross our fingers for a little while. But we'll see. Lots of frogs down right now. We have win conditions, right? Oh, NOP. But we don't do it just yet. Why do it now when we can do it later? Let's trap him. Unfortunately, we actually deal damage, so now Rage can KO a Frogadier. There's special charge number 1. Let's just hope that 3 of their 4 cards are DCE and 1's not in their hand right now. Okay, good news. Good news all around. I think we're playing N here. Another Lysandre, is it that good? They still have a lot of things that they can do. It's giving us a lot of Stardust though. I'm tempted to carry on. Because even if they do go for a Lysandre prize, it feeds us another Stardust. Maybe they just pass here and then we can have our turn to fire off the end. Yeah. Ooh, Sycamore's even more tempting. I need to Rod. I need to find Rod really quickly. Need to find both of them pretty sharpish, to be honest. This is more cards. And more cards equals good things. I think this is a duplicates turn. The 10 damage is really good on the Vespiquen as well. Yeah, so seeing that they do retreat, they do DC up. They also Lysandre around the splash energy, going for that Jirachi. High priority target, apparently. So let's go into the splash energy dude. Let's evolve, attach, and I think Sycamore's still the best play here. Max Potion is useless, and so is Water Energy, really. Hitting Dive Ball is good. Silent Lab really is unimpactful right now, but I'll still put it in because it's a card out of our hand. Holding Level Ball is potentially a cut, is something that I want to do. How many VSs have we been through? Only 2. That's the biggest problem right now. Maybe Bubble is a win condition at some point. I don't feel they'll end us next turn. How much damage do they have? 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so perfect math on Beedril, so that's never getting played. I think it's just Moonlight Slash for 60. No balloons all game either. Really is grim. We have lots of good draws. It's just that we're not drawing them. That's kind of the tale of Greninja a lot of the time. 2 prizes to go. Let's see if we can grind out this victory or not. Oh, finding the level ball was actually is really something I should have done. Okay. It's not too late. Kind of is, but I force an N from the opponent. Which is pretty good. We took a prize, everyone. We did it. We totally did it. So they're forced to N, which means they can't Lysandre, which means we might actually Lysandre. Lysandre this guy. Then they stand in and deal 70. Yeah. Oh, we could prevent stand in. Ooh. Interesting. Putting 40 puts him up to 90, 90, 100, 110. 110 we can retreat around for a little bit. 90 is a really bad number to put him on. It's not that bad. Yeah, okay. Stitch just to prevent the Zorro. So this forces a VS Seeker out of them, which is really good. Refreshes our hand. Forces DC either onto Tauros or Zoroark. Oh, okay, they don't need to N if they special charge. Okay, there's second special charge. Do they have DC to back it up? Should do. I mean, otherwise they've prized too, right? Which I think we know is not the case. Yeah, they DC the active. I think they Lysandre as well this turn. Lysandre for a KO. Yeah, there's VS Seeker for Lysandre. Lysandre on good old Froakie. So we're back in kind of top deck mode. Lillie's not a bad top deck. Right, so Lysandre does not lose us the game, so I think I might even be benching Beedril now. And we'll Lillie for an extra card. Break Evolution is good. Shuriken is good. And I think we do no damage here. Going to 90 to 130, 130, 140, 150. I mean, 150 is not actually that different to 110 right now. It still forces a max potion from us. So maybe I retreat into the other break and use that one. So I'd rather lose a regular water, I think. Definitely can't do 80 this turn. We know that much. I think maybe even passing is fine. Although next turn, like, we can take 3 prizes, probably. So yeah, let's Shadow Stitch. It's been a weird game. Really grindy. The extra Lysandre's been really good. Basically single-handedly giving us a win condition. I think they should DC... Like, they really kind of need to DCE Vespi, but also really probably don't want to this turn. Oh, they DC the Tauros. Big news, everyone. Ooh, Bursting Balloon. Don't think it changes much. I think we lose the game because we didn't. Yeah, I think we lose 6. Yeah, I think we needed 1 water energy to win this game, but we missed it. Was there one in there? No, we needed a regular water energy to win this game. As if we had 3 of our Bursting Balloon all right in the bottom cards. It's really sad. Ah, sadness. Sadness and pain. Can't even bubble flip people. Trying to think of any win condition, maybe 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah. Well played. That was very close though. No balloons is so rough. Damn, we were close though. After a lot of turns of dead draw. So, what we learned from Greninja is it can draw really, really badly. Talon and no Talonflame both draw badly. I think Jirachi proved its merit, definitely, even though we overall lost the game. We didn't face any Garbodor, so Beedril wasn't too impactful, but they did have to use their Floatstones early, and that meant that Tauros became a Lysandre stall target for a large portion of the game. And in a similar vein, Double Scrapper forces that in a lot of other situations. The Garbodor is as chunky as a Tauros would be, and if we're scrappering that off and forcing a Lysandre at the same time, it can buy us turns to give us win conditions, to give us games, and it almost paid off in that game there. So, yeah, unfortunately, just couldn't find the right cards to win the game right at the end. I mean, all 3 balloons at the bottom. Balloon changes so much math a lot of the time. And just not hitting that was really rough. So yeah, that was Greninja. Both builds. Let me know your favourite build. Let me know what you think about the games, how they went, how Greninja is placed. I think it could be okay, but it's still super risky, and it does fear all the new stuff, or a lot of the new stuff. Tauros is a very awkward card to play around, as you just saw. Even though it is potentially a stall target for us, I think attacking into it, I think potentially the early stitching was the worst move I could have made, because it gave him the Mad Bull KO. If I did no damage there, then they're forced to stand in or something like that. I might have to look back at that myself. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the lists and the discussion and the battles. And if you're still here, I imagine it's probably worth hitting the like button and subscribe if you've not already. For now, though, it has been Joe from Omnipoke, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.